I saw a set of really interesting comments on my channel today. I'm not going to show you, I'll just give you the summary. And I was very, in a sense, surprised as to how a lot of folk have framed it, because they make the frame of the channel. They say Video Game Fight School, you're an Xbot, or this channel is a pro Xbox channel. Another one said this is an anti-PlayStation channel. And I look and I say, well, why would they think so? Because many of them don't watch the videos that I make, because most of the videos that I make are in response to things that PlayStation fans pose, statements, things that they try to pass on as facts. And another crazy fact is I'm actually a PlayStation fan, because I know more about the PlayStation platform than I do about Xbox. Everything I get from Xbox is from what we have in the media, the news, and just more recently buying an Xbox Series X console, which is the first Xbox console I paid money for, and getting a Game Pass subscription. But I think what it might be is a lot of folk are used to PlayStation being put on a pedestal. So it's kind of challenging to see PlayStation as a normal company that is subject to the forces of the market and economics and is not special in any way from any of the other console manufacturers. The console business is a hard business. Why anyone would choose to get into that business and stay in that business is mainly for strategic value, and they've just been doing it long enough where they have enough resources to stay in it. It doesn't mean that any one of the console manufacturers is special, because they have their weaknesses, they have their vulnerabilities, and at some point, as things start to crack all over the place, people eventually get to see these vulnerabilities. Right now, PlayStation is at its most vulnerable. And for fans that have seen the company in some kind of a pedestal or in a different light for many years, it's not the easiest thing for them to digest seeing that. I come to this because of this particular pedestal. PlayStation stayed on the pedestal so much, it thought it could get away with almost anything. They raised the price of PlayStation Plus, basically a subscription service that is there to bill you to play online. The games that they really give you, it's hit or miss. Their games are more expensive. They don't have anything value proposition wise that matches Xbox, the competition. Why should I, in any sense, accept that when there are alternatives that actually do that? So I moved to PC in 2016, kept my PlayStation 4. When the PlayStation 5 came out, I upgraded to the PS5. I sold that PS4, even though I didn't have any need to. Well, at the time, there were some exclusives I wanted to play, and as a gamer, you play what you want to play if you can. You go where the games are. But at the end of the day, I still think a lot of PlayStation fans really need to dive into the conversation without their emotions in it. Criticism is not easy to take. Xbox has been the one that's been on the uprise, coming from behind in terms of this. And right now, Xbox is really making some significant ground-shaking moves in the entire space. They're just going crazy. And no longer have they allowed themselves to be bound by the rules that were, the console game was played years ago. And I think when you point that out, some PlayStation fans carry a placard around saying that they're the console leader. They're the console leader. And I'm like, Nintendo is selling more consoles, and they still don't even make as much money as like Activision on a good day. So what is this whole talk about console leader? Because the gaming industry is a very dynamic and a very interesting place. At the end of the day, here's what I'd say. If you're somebody who thinks, that a lot of this stuff that's going on right now is, in a sense, biased against PlayStation or whatever it is, just pay attention to see how they respond. In a few hours, if you're watching this video now or after the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro, or if it's a thing, because, they've already set up like a live stream and all that stuff, see what PlayStation does. See what they price the console at. See if it actually is something that's there to provide you value. See why they even have a console if it's even worth buying a new console. Ask yourself some, important questions that you probably haven't taken the time to ask yourself about PlayStation and how they see you as the consumer and the customer. What do they think you're able to bring to the table? What do they take you for? What do they want to offer you? Do they want to offer you more hardware? And is to be more powerful to play games and get better, frame rates and all this stuff? Or are they going to sell you another pipe dream like they did with this generation, where they told you all this stuff, but, the PS5 is basically underpowered hardware at the end of the day? Because one thing about consoles is if it's now stepped into a whole different conversation. It's now trying to teeter and push against what PC has been able to provide, which what this does is it just sets everybody's expectations up for all kinds of disappointments. I mean, they're talking about the PS5 Pro NVIDIA is talking about the 5080 and 5090 series. The consoles will take multiple generations to be able to do that kind of compute power. That's even the 40 series. Like I'm talking the 4080, 4090. And they're going to sell a new refresh console and they're going to make all kinds of promises. Do you know what's going to happen in like 2-3 years by the time the next full console generation cycle is coming? All of that hardware would have been out of date. So let's know what the console makers are actually saying this time when it comes to their hardware, or let's see if their own platform is what they value more than anything else, rather than just trying to use marketing buzzwords to push people towards paying for their own devices or whatever it is. Because for the longest time, this is what they've done, both Xbox and both PlayStation. I've called both of them out on this channel. I think some of you weren't here during Gotham Nights. And, if you had known, Xbox was basically the ire of my focus in that time, because we knew their hardware composition more than even the PlayStation 5 because of that unit that Digital Foundry got. So I think that the videos are now starting to be recommended to some of you that are PlayStation fans. So you kind of think that, somewhere, somehow I have this, thing where I like Xbox. Nah, man, I see them both the same way. However, I understand what's called a strategic player in a game. Xbox is a strategic player to keep PlayStation looking like a normal company, meaning PlayStation is not going to go ham, regardless of how stupid they try to get, because I've dealt with PlayStation for years. They will take your money in a heartbeat. You won't even have to think about it. They will take money from your hand without any qualms. There is not a single ounce of value proposition with that company. Even though we may call Microsoft evil, things like Windows being free, thankfully there's Linux and the other operating systems that make it happen. We still know that there's still some benefits to using Windows. As much as the world will cry, Windows, let them go try Mac OSs and see how incredibly difficult and challenging those are to actually use at your own whim. They're almost impossible to use by any stretch. So again, this is what we basically are trying to filter from PlayStation, is what is their value proposition at the end of the day? And I think a lot of console folk have just been, comfortable with what they've had all this while, and starting to see, PlayStation get its layers peeled back to see and unveil that there really ain't much in here, is a little sore. So again, divorce your identity from these, pieces of plastic. These companies don't care about us anyways. Let's take them to, to the cleaners. Let's make sure that they're not over here trying to gain some whatever, fake perception that they've basically, paid for from the talking pieces out here, or some who are not necessarily paying attention or want to be objective, and then they're basically going to serve it to us. No. That's not how it's going to work. That's not how it's going to work. If PlayStation wants to play in the market today, we have to know exactly what kind of player they are. And the PS4 days really did give them a whole lot of nerve to be doing a whole bunch of stuff that they've been doing in the last few years. But now I think things are starting to normalize. They're not invulnerable. They thought they were invulnerable, man. With the Activision thing, nobody saw that. But once Xbox bought Activision, it really changed the game. It really did. Y'all don't even realize when Jim Ryan was saying our business is never going to be the same if we receive a degraded version of Call of Duty. Do you know what that even means? He was saying if Xbox did any kind of exclusivity with Call of Duty, it was over. That's crazy. That you hung the most important pieces of your business on an external live service game, and we're doing all this third-party money hat deals to make yourself seem like you were this thing. And at the end of the day, you're selling us hardware, telling us the hardware is this and this and this, yet you don't have enough, you don't have enough money to, produce games, because you've pursued optics more than actual quality, providing what your business proposition should be. Yeah, I'm not going to let that just go, unanswered. So PlayStation now has itself to prove in my case, because I'm a PlayStation person. I have PlayStation. I'm invested in the ecosystem more than I am in Xbox. I have a bigger PlayStation library. And if they're not going to put up, then they'll be abandoned, because as much as I'm a PC player too, I have a big library just as big on both. I can easily just switch to the PC, and right now they're not convincing me. And I feel like we need to point out where where things are lacking, because also this allows for us to be able to serve one another as consumers. Because some people are, just misinformed. Like, they really are. I see people all the while saying, oh, well, Xbox has given up. They're no longer making hardware. When Xbox hardware is sitting there, when they've talked about making more hardware. A lot of these things are the subject of my videos. They make me go ahead and say, why do PlayStation fans want to represent reality falsely? To me, I think it's just the fact that many of them can't really take it or stand it, that right now they're in a very strange position. They're not looking, as they've looked in the last few years. More and more, their business proposition is now, pretty much showing up what the future can look like if you're not providing value like, say, Nintendo. So you're now a third-party publisher in essence, and so you now play by a different set of rules that Xbox has been laughed at for so many years for playing, if you get what I mean. But that's my video. I was going to just go ahead and point that out. I see some people in the comment section, y'all need to calm down, man. You act like, PlayStation is going to put food on your table or something. Relax. Thanks for watching. Peace out.